It's Sunday, July 22nd, 2018. It's time for Sunday Smorgasbord, or more importantly, CFL report for week 6. And how did I do on my picks? Because on Thursday I made my picks. I went 2 and 2. I'm up to 3 and 4. I'm okay with that. I'm doing all right. Um, so we'll start off with Thursday night's game, which so far I've gotten both Thursday night games wrong. I will probably continue the trend, but we'll go with Hamilton versus Saskatchewan. I picked Hamilton to win. I thought Masoli would throw for another 300-yard game. I thought he'd break the record. I was wrong. I picked the Ticats to win. I was wrong. Saskatchewan played really well. Bridge played really good as well, 17 and 22 for 165 yards and a touchdown. Saskatchewan ran all over the Ticats. They had over 200 yards rushing, and the thing is, it's like, I get it. Big Pen had one carry for like 80 yards, but they still had 147 yards, I think, or they had, what was it? That'd be 138 yards. 138 yards between Messam, Mason, and Bridge. They still ran the ball extremely well. So it doesn't seem like Hamilton had really an answer for that. Masoli, he was 20 of 28, which I don't know. I mean, is he just a check down thrower? Does he not really take a lot of risks down the field? But he only had 184 yards, and he did have an interception. There's a little bit of grumbling now because they kind of pointed out that, Manziel's still sitting on the bench. But to be honest, Masoli is still one of the higher, he's thrown for a lot more yards than a lot of guys. I think only Riley has more yards than him. So the yards are there, but the production doesn't seem to be. I still don't know. You're 2 and 3. You're still in a very winnable division. So I don't see pulling the plug and putting in Manziel. Mazzoli probably knows the offense better than Manziel does. So unless Manziel can come in and guarantee victories, I don't see putting him in right now. But if you go 2 and 4, and even if Masoli is playing well, it might just be time for a change just to shake things up. But right now, I'd still go with Masoli for another week. The team seems to have some talent there, and I think Masoli is a very talented quarterback. I don't know. He may not have enough around him, but I don't know enough about, I still don't know enough about Canadian football to look at the roster and go, Masoli needs more help. If you look at Saskatchewan, they're another one of those tough teams that's tough for me to figure, but they're 3 and 2 right now. So, they've got 6 points. But once again, I thought Hamilton was favored by 10. And they lost to Saskatchewan in Hamilton. So, I got that wrong. Then we'll go to Ottawa versus BC. Ottawa's got some real good players. It's got a good quarterback. But this Travis Lalai, I'm not sure how they're pronouncing it right now. For the BC Lions, 19 of 32, 325 yards, 2 touchdowns. Where's this guy been? Rutley rushed the ball effectively, 17 carries for 91 yards. And I'm going to butcher this last name, Arsenault. 5 catches for 152 yards. Maybe that's going to be Lalai's favorite target. But he played good enough for British Columbia to win. Ottawa was favored by, I think, 7 going into this. Now, Harris played really well, 30 of 44 for 363 yards, a touchdown and no interception. Powell at one point was leading the league in rushing, and now he's third. He's behind Harris and another guy. So Powell hasn't rushed the ball very well in the last 2 games. Sinopoli, I don't know. Once again, tough last name for me. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. 11 catches, 171 yards, and a touchdown. So there were a couple of really good receiving performances. Both quarterbacks played really well. Both of them were slinging it. But Ottawa does come out on top. And that that gave me another one right here. Here's a team that's just going to destroy me all year, I think. Winnipeg. The Blue Bombers are just going to destroy me all year. If I pick them to win, they're going to lose. If I pick them to lose, they're going to win. They're going to mess with me the whole season, and Nichols is going to be the bane of my existence. But he played decent enough, 19 of 27 for 245 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He even rushed the ball once and got it one time, 1 yard, and he got a touchdown doing it. So quarterback sneak. Harris ran the ball really well, 27 carries for 161 yards. No real outstanding receiving performances, but Nichols, Nichols played pretty well. For Toronto, Franklin did not play very well. So far we've seen Franklin play well against his former team, Edmonton, not necessarily good against any other team, but that's only one game he's gotten to try to play against somebody else. 21 of 36 for 151 yards and an interception. He had no rushing help. And I don't know if it's maybe because they were behind and they weren't running the ball and they were just... But Burks, 3 carries for 19 yards. Franklin himself ran 3 times for 5 yards. Wilder Jr. ran 3 times for -2 yards. So, I don't know if maybe just Winnipeg was just harassing him all night. I mean, Winnipeg had a couple of sacks on him. But, I mean, nothing that looked too, like Franklin was being harassed the whole time. So, but I picked Winnipeg to win at Toronto, or I picked Toronto to win, because I thought Toronto, defending Grey Cup champions. Dexter McCluster didn't play. I noticed that, and he probably wasn't going to come in and play. He'd just gotten there. But Winnipeg is going to mess with me this whole season. I just know they are. They're just going to... If I pick them to win, they'll lose. If I pick them to lose, they'll win. So whatever I pick for Winnipeg, pick the opposite, and that's what'll happen. Then we had Montreal versus Calgary. The whole problem with Montreal versus Calgary was that they weren't positive Bo Levi Mitchell was going to play. They had warmed up the other guys for the whole week. Bo Levi Mitchell was out there on the field, and this is my understanding. He played through a shoulder tear, or a tear in his shoulder on his throwing arm last season. So why wouldn't he play through whatever he had? They were calling it a lower extremity injury, and he was standing around. He seemed fine, so I couldn't imagine he wouldn't play. But I did pick Calgary to win, and they did. They are 5-0. The Alouettes didn't put up much of a fight in this game. Schultz didn't play horribly. But when you go 16 of 25 for 160 yards, a touchdown, and 2 INTs, that's not really that great either. Not much rushing help from his side of it. Calgary, Bo Levi Mitchell played well. 25 of 34 for 292 yards, a couple of touchdowns. He did throw a pick. He didn't run the ball. Good. Rogers had 9 catches for 113 yards. And I think Calgary's defense had three sacks and 2 INTs. So they were giving the Alouettes a tough time. Montreal drops to 1-4 on the year. Calgary right now is kind of running away with it, but not so much. Calgary right now has 10 points, leads their division. Ottawa has 6 points, leads their division. Montreal's only 2 points out. Edmonton, though, is 4 points out. Saskatchewan and Winnipeg are all 4 points behind Calgary. So, right now, Calgary is still on that march to be the first undefeated team since, I think, 1958 or something like that, or 40. I can't remember the last time that they said that there was an undefeated team. But Calgary's still on the march. They're still on the march to go 18-0. And hopefully get through the playoffs, win a championship. I don't know. It's like if you go 18-0 in the regular season and you don't win the title, that's not good. But right now, Toronto and Montreal, they need some help. The BC Lions are playing decently, and maybe Lalai, however it's pronounced. If he keeps playing as well as he's playing, BC has a chance to turn it around. Unfortunately, they're just in the stronger western side of things, where Edmonton's 3-2, Saskatchewan's 3-2, and Winnipeg's 3-3. The BC Lions, if they were in the East, would be in second place. So, paying attention to all the Canadian football stuff, it kind of made me think, it's like, man, I'd like to play a Canadian Football League video game. So I start looking around the internet trying to figure out if there is one. Well, yeah, sure, there was one in 1999. CFL football 99. And I remember seeing that game on the shelves. I think it was only for PC. But I remember seeing it and kind of being interested in it way back then and going, oh, a Canadian. And that's back when I used to play a lot of sports games. Tons. I mean, I think that's mostly what I played. Sports games and RPGs. And I just go, oh, I want that game. It's like, but I never bought it because my PC wouldn't have been powerful enough to push it at the time. So I never got the thing. And there's never been another one. Well, they have a game on the Xbox One and Steam called Canadian Football 2017. Not officially licensed by anybody. It's just a rough game. It's made by a Canuck Play. It's an indie game, and it's just like, and I've watched some. Go onto Xbox One or Steam and watch some of the clips that people have posted. Holy smokes, they'll make you laugh because the game is broken. I wish that this game was working because I'd love to put money in it, but I'm not. And it's not expensive. It's like $16. But I can't pay money for a game that's as broken as this. I mean, and granted, those are a few glitches they're showing, but the reviews for it aren't the best. On Xbox Live, the fans have given it a 2 out of 5. Now, here's the funny part. Madden 18 has a 2 out of 5. So, I don't know. I mean, it's like, I think it's because people are hating on Madden, which is fine. But it's like, has anybody played the Canadian football? I don't know if I want to play it just because it doesn't have the actual players and the actual teams. I mean, that's kind of what I want to play, but it's like nobody's releasing it. I guess in 2012, EA was looking to release a Canadian football game based off of their NCAA football engine, and it just never came to fruition. It's like Mark Cohen was working with, I think his name is Cam Weber of EA, and it just it never really came to fruition. So it's too bad. I wish right now there was a Canadian football game league on the market I could play. I don't think Canadian Football 99 is going to scratch the itch because those players are there's probably not a single player that was in the Canadian League in 1999 that's still on a team. Although maybe Ricky Ray, maybe. I don't, he's been there for a long time. But I don't know. So, I mean, this week I went 2-2 with my picks. So I'm up to 3-4 on the picks. Calgary still looks pretty stout. They obviously took Montreal very seriously, and they did not just put in one of the backups. They marched out Bo Levi Mitchell to take care of him, and he did. The defense harassed him. Hamilton's going to be one of those teams. I think Masoli is still. I still think Masoli is your guy, but if you lose next week, or if Hamilton, I haven't looked at the schedule for next week yet. But if he loses next week and he's even if he throws for over 300 yards and you lose, you might have to start thinking about putting in a backup, whether it's Manziel or not. You may have to start thinking about it. I'm not saying do it, but you might have to start giving Manziel a few more reps in practice just to maybe get him ready, because if Masoli is putting up yards but not victories, you got to either shake things up or you got to get Masoli some more help somewhere. Right now, I'd keep Masoli in. I got no problem. I think he's a very good player, and I think he should stay in until. I would give Masoli at least 3 more weeks, at least. But I would start to give Manziel a few more reps in practice, but I'd still keep Masoli in for about 3 more weeks, because at that point you're probably, even at worst case scenario, you're 2-6. You could still probably manage, and I don't think they would be. I think Hamilton's too good to lose the next 3 in a row. But let's say you're 3-5 at that point. Maybe you still want to shake things up. You got Manziel there. You can shake things up. But right now, go with Masoli. Stick with him. But what do you guys think? You know more than I do if you're watching this. So let me know down in the comments below what you think. And with all that being said, to the troops, past, present, and future, thanks for the freedom.